3 Prismatic Omen, 4 Primeval Titan sets him apart from the David Scharfman, Ben Stark list we've seen quite a bit through this weekend.
All right, so that means that Joe is going to have to aim those land destruction at Valakut the Molten Pinnacle. The hitting mountains isn't going to get him anywhere. Plenty of mountains in this version of the deck.
Another land go for Scott.
Go to 17.
What happened with that search for tomorrow?
Well, one of them's still suspended, right?
Yeah, but it should at least be
it should be at 1, yeah.
At 1. Looks like
forget?
A missed trigger for Scott. Setting him back a turn. That's pretty big.
That could be. I mean, eventually, he just needs to get critical mass at some later turn here. But, yeah, you certainly don't want to miss those.
Yeah. I mean, like, to be fair, Joe doesn't really have all that much in the way of pressure.
No, he's got a monstrous Carabid in the yard, and there's a Deadshot Minotaur as well. Okay, well, he can mount some pressure pretty quickly here. There's another Deadshot Minotaur. So what does he want to do here?
He's got Fulminator Mage.
Yeah.
That's one of his possibilities. He's going to cast that there. And if that resolves, he's going to be able to take out that Steam Vents. And that's what he does. Say goodbye, Steam Vents.
Very aggressively, immediately does it because he knows that next turn he can cycle something.
And then has a Violent Outburst.
And then has a Violent Outburst too.
So I believe that's Izzet Charm. He's going to draw 2, discard 2. He's trying to figure out. That's the Friday Night Magic version of Izzet Charm.
Looks kind of cool.
Figure out what he wants to discard here. Searching through his deck to try to combo out more quickly. Doing this with the Fulminator on the stack. Fulminator's ability on the stack. So he's still deciding. There's a couple of mountains, Valakut, and a couple of Pyroclasms in Scott's hand. Those Pyroclasms aren't doing very much, and he's going to discard both of them.
Yeah, you know, Joe Haman, his creatures are very big. He would need to cast both Pyroclasms in one turn. All right, we see Scott hit that suspend counter, tick down this time.
That's important. Looks like he drew another Search for Tomorrow, which he can now just cast himself, just raw dog that.
Yep. If
he wants. That'll get him up to 5 lands, 6 lands on the next turn, and then he could play a 7th. If he draws Escape Shift, that could be 18 damage. Unfortunately for Scott, there's a good chance that Joe's going to hold up Violent Outburst. He can cast that in instant speed. And if Scott uses Escape Shift to go get any non-basic mountain, then he can sacrifice the Fulminator Mage, get rid of that non-basic mountain, and only take 6 from the Escape Shift. There's also a Spike Feeder in Joe's hand. I believe that's a 1-of in his deck.
Okay.
A 3-of, actually, with Spike Feeder. Spike Feeder comes to play.
I haven't seen that one yet.
There you go. Get it on the screen. Comes to play with 2+1/+1 counters. You can pay 2 and remove a counter to put it on another creature, or just remove 1 and gain 2 life. So, back to Joe's turn here. He's going to cycle Deadshot Minotaur.
He sees a Street Wraith there that he can cycle as well.
And he is going to do that.
There's a land. Kessig Wolf Run for him, and here it comes, Violent Outburst. Now there's no creatures on Scott's side of the board in his graveyard or on the battlefield, so it's not going to affect Scott this turn. But it's going to be a big turn for Joe here as he's going to try to set up basically a 2-turn clock. Also, this is a turn where he's going to be able to get back that Fulminator Mage and take out Valakut the Molten Pinnacle before things get nasty for him.
Yeah. There's a good chance he's going to do that. It's more important that it's just a non-basic land, and he can knock Scott off of getting to 7 lands in the following turn.
Right.
So there you go. Living End. It's going to return all of those creatures in Joe's graveyard onto the battlefield. Street Wraith, a couple of Deadshot Minotaurs, Monstrous Carabid, and Fulminator Mage. I have to imagine we'll see Fulminator Mage immediately take out that Valakut. And pass it back to Scott. Finally, that Search for Tomorrow gets off.
It was a long search, but he found it.
Search his library for something here. Interesting to note that had Scott kept those 2 Pyroclasms, he could have cast both of them here
and actually
wiped
put
the board.
Full board sweep. That is interesting. He's got, it looks like just 2 mountains in his hand.
Believe he's got a mountain.
And
yeah,
there's
2
an
mountains.
Izzet Charm as
and now
well.
an Izzet Charm. So 6 lands in play. He can use that Izzet Charm to cycle. He's facing down 13 points of damage.
Yeah, he needs that mountain in his hand anyway, though.
Twisted Abomination off the top.
All right,
Joe's going to attack in with everything. He's the
4,
ability
7,
to pump up
10,
1.
11, 12, 13.
If he wants to pump 1 using the Keswick Wolf Run, he can make it 14.
Depends on what else he has planned here. I see he's got that Spike Feeder. So he can gain 4 life from a Spike Feeder?
Yes.
So that's pretty relevant here as it puts him above the 18-point threshold if he were to do that.
Twisted Abomination.
Did he just do that?
Gets
He
swamp
just
cycled here.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that
He still has the mana for Spike Feeder, though, with this swamp, right?
yeah.
So he can just pay 1 GG, and that way it gives him a way to gain 4 life, which is a really big deal when you're facing Scape Shift on 6 lands, ready to go to 7.
I mean, alternatively, if you're Joe, you can just play that land and then cast Beast Within on one of Scott's lands, right? The forest.
Oh, okay.
Keep him off those. But he's going to cast that Spike Feeder, allow him to go up to 19 life in case there's any Scape Shift shenanigans. And I
Pretty
think
nice here. He doesn't have to do it if he doesn't want to either. He can just attack next turn if he's not under threat of death here.
end of turn, Izzet Charm's going to draw a Valakut, the Molten Pinnacle, and a Breeding Pool.
Pretty unexciting.
And that's it. Joe Hamon takes the first game here over Scott Hopp in the semifinals of Grand Prix Kansas City.
All right, so Scott just mentioned the Pyroclasms that he said, you know, I threw away the Pyroclasms and I wasn't sure if I should do that or not, so.
Well, we've got some upcoming webcasts for you guys. All are going to be featured on twitch.tv/magic. The first one up is in a couple of weeks, Grand Prix Rimini, July 27th to the 28th. Shortly after that, we've got the Magic the Gathering Worlds Week, World Championship, the World Magic Cup, starting July 31st, going through August 4th. Then Grand Prix Warsaw, standard format, August 10th and the 11th. Then finally the Magic Online Community Cup,
that's right,
the 30th and 31st. Same weekend, we've got Grand Prix Prague, Magic 2014 Limited. Then a couple weeks after that, we've got Grand Prix Oklahoma City. That'll be the first Grand Prix with Theros. And then right after that, we've got Pro Tour Theros, standard and Theros draft. That's going to be in Dublin. And then finally, to finish that out, the week after that, Grand Prix Louisville. Another standard tournament with Theros, October 19th and 20th. We're going to take a sneak peek to Robert Burney playing against Seth Manfield, our other semifinals match. Number 1 after the Swiss, Robert Burney, facing off against Grand Prix Daytona Beach champion Seth Manfield. Seth's got quite a big board here. He's got Viscerous here, Birthing Pod, Deathrite Shaman, and Ranger of Eos, facing off against a Deceiver Exarch. Not exactly sure where we came in here, but it looks as if that Birthing Pod has been activated here, and Seth's deciding on what he wants to do. Depending on what was sacrificed off that Birthing Pod, Seth has a chance to do some damage here.
I don't know. I've been problems with Tectonic Edge.
He's thumbing through his deck, keeping things pretty close to the chest. And it looks like he wants to get Phyrexian Metamorph. That is what he's going to get. What is he going to copy, though? If there's a land in a graveyard, he can copy the Birthing Pod and go get another thing using another creature using the Deathrite Shaman. But something tells me that that Deathrite Shaman would have been activated if there had already been something. Instead, he's going to copy the Deceiver Exarch. Oh, there was one. Okay.
Yeah, just off camera there.
Untap a land and cast a Spellskite. So he's got some protection for the following turn against a potential Splinter Twin.
And he spread out his battlefield a bit there with a few cards that are off camera, fortunately.
Okay, so Robert looks like he's just passing the turn back to Seth. You got to be pretty excited if you're Seth here, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's got a Chord of Calling in his hand there.
He's pretty close to doing some real damage. Seth, no stranger to top-level play, Grand Prix Daytona Beach champion a number of years back when he was quite young.
Well, he's looking to pick up championship number 2 here.
Trying to figure out what the best play for him is here. Wants to be able to leave his options open, but do something that's going to be too powerful for Robert to deal with.
Robert's got 5 untapped mana. Represent a whole lot of different things with that.
Players.
Yeah, they're discussing something here.
Or what?
They're discussing something. I'm just trying to figure out what it is. Let's listen in for a minute.
I was doing things and I cast.
Okay, all right. In response to him casting. That was like a 10-minute turn. I just totally forgot what happened.
It looks like they've got things settled. I couldn't quite hear what the question was. But Seth seems to be deep in the tank here.
I think it was round 12.
Okay, tapping 3 lands.
In game 3, he multiplied 4.
It's going to be a Chord of Calling. It's going to be a Kitchen Finks. Kitchen Finks, it seems to be. That's going to bring Seth up to 12.
Robert Burney says, sure, you got a Finks.
And then he's going to sacrifice a creature to Birthing Pod here. The Finks, that's going to come back. It's going to gain another 2 life.
He'll just stay even on that transaction.
Yep. Look through his deck for a 4 mana card. Might be a Restoration Angel. Could be a Murderous Redcap. There we go. Redcap comes down.
So where's the Malira?
Exactly. He's got the Sack Outlet. He's got the Redcap. Where's the Malira? If he's got land Malira, that'd be sweet. He does have that Chord of Calling in hand, so he can just Chord of Calling up Malira and go off here at instant speed.
It looks like this is the time to do it. There's an activation of Desolate Lighthouse on this deck.
Seth says, hold on a second here. And pretty sure he's got it here. He can cast Chord of Calling
I won from 5 in the draw.
X equal to 2.
In the last 2 days.
You can see Seth really does not want to make a mistake here. He's double, triple, quadruple checking, making sure that he's not going to let his opponent have any shot of winning this game that he deserves. So those are the 3 that will pay for quarter calling. Potentially. Does he have enough green mana is the question.
All right, Robert just asked him the same question that you just posed here.
Well, he's got the Kitchen Finks. He's got the Deathrite Shaman. That's 2. That Metamorph is not green, though.
Yeah, so he just can't cast it right now.
Yeah. Maybe all that posturing slipped him up a little bit.
Could be. Now, Robert Burney now knows that he has it, and that that's the win if it were to resolve.
So he's either got to get rid of that Murderous Redcap or the Viscera Seer.
Right.
Or draw a counterspell for Court of Calling. I mean, Seth is now drawing... As soon as he untaps, he can sacrifice that Deathrite Shaman to go get a Malira. And if there's anything in response to that, then he can respond by casting Court of Calling.
Yeah, so he's got some redundancy for the combo here, and it's looking pretty good for Seth Manfield. Now that he has the lands available, you can pay the green mana for Court of Calling quite easily.
Yep. Here he goes. He's gonna activate that breeding pool, sacrifice Deathrite Shaman. Does Bernie have a response? No. He'll go and find a Malira.
And that should do it, right? I guess he has the one act. Once the red cap comes back, then if Robert hasn't found a way to interact by then it should just be done.
Yeah, I mean, there's a chance that
like he can do it. He can, like with the persist trigger on the stack, he can kill Malira.
Or have a boomerang or something.
Yeah.
He does have boomerang in his main deck.
So he
So
has one in his graveyard, in fact.
with
He's going to dig here with the Lighthouse.
persist trigger on the stack, he's going to activate Lighthouse. He draws Sleight of Hand. That's not a boomerang. Discard Sleight of Hand. Red Cap's going to come back. And he can then scry 1. Deal 2. Continue doing this over and over again. And that should be the game. 14, you see Bernie go down to. Manfield is going to put that card on the bottom.
Robert Burney's making him go through every one of these steps.
12, 10, 8.
You see Seth kind of picking up his pace here as he realizes
6,
I've got it.
4. There you go.
Right,
Robert Burney concedes the match, and Seth, the game. Seth Manfield takes the first game here in the semifinals.
Let's go back to our main match here. Scott Hupp versus Joe Haman. A lot of stuff in the graveyard for Joe Haman already. I see there's a Fulminator Mage in there. A couple of Deadshot Minotaurs and a Monstrous Carabid.
Yep.
4 lands on the table for Scott Hupp. Not too bad. A reasonable start here. We don't know if Joe Haman has access to his combo as of yet. He's pretty free to go with it, though, as Scott Hupp's deck doesn't run a ton of counterspells. It's really the green-red version that runs a little bit of blue for like Serum Visions usually.
Yeah, out of the sideboard.
Maybe Remand, but not much else beyond that.
He doesn't have a lot. He's got...
Remand's pretty good, though.
Yep.
Get that Living End back in your hand.
That's true. But that's the only thing he has, Remand, right?
Okay.
I'm looking at the deck list. Combust, Nature's Claim, Obstinate Bailoff. They don't do very much.
And you talked about it earlier. He's got a Grafdigger's Cage. Doesn't do anything against this combo.
Because if you read Living End carefully, the creatures don't actually come into play from the graveyard. They go to exile first.
That's right.
And then hit play.
Exactly. Spike Feeder for Joe Haman. There's an Avalanche Riders.
So Joe's put in a position where he has to go off quickly here, right?
Oh, he went to attacks, though. He must be doing something else this turn.
He's got...
He's got some nice sideboard cards. He's got a Knot of the Bone in his hand. Joe Haman does. He can gain a bunch of life with that. And now that's much better against the blue-based version of Scape Shift. Knot of the Bone able to gain a ton of life at instant speed twice. You're going to gain 2 life. We get it up on the screen there for each creature in your graveyard. It's got the flashback, cost the same as it does to cast it, 2 and a green. Against the decks that don't have Prismatic Omen and a million mountains, you can actually just outpace how much damage they're able to do at a given point in the game. But unfortunately for Joe, Scott Hop's deck is capable of doing just huge amounts of damage. Still, life gain will come in handy. You know, if he can get Scott to go off on a Scape Shift, and then Joe can get him.
I mean, yeah, there's a good chance that Scott's thinking about doing that here. Joe's sitting at 14 life.
Now he's at a virtual 18.
Right.
Because of the spike feeder, so that's going to factor into Scott's thinking here.
Yeah, but he has access to go find Scape Shift to deal 18 damage.
Yeah, he needs a land. Did he play a land yet this turn?
No, I don't think he has a Scape Shift either.
Okay.
He's got a Secure Tribe Elder and 2 other cards that he's hiding from us. I mean, he also has to be wary if he were to do that. Oh, he does have a Scape Shift. He could cast Secure Tribe Elder and then cast Scape Shift. He has to be wary that if there's a Violent Outburst on the other side of the table, then Joe can respond to the Valakut triggers and get rid of non-basic Mountain. But Scott's going to start things off with Is It Charm.
Looks like he just wants to find the land naturally here. Ooh, there's a Primeval Titan as well in his hand now.
Primeval Titan's
pretty darn
big.
good. He's going to get rid of the Secure Tribe Elder. Is that the Scape Shift that he got rid of?
He got rid of the Primeval Titan.
Oh, okay.
He's going to play that land. He's got access to Scape Shift. Is he going to go for it? It looks like he is. Cast Scape Shift.
No cards in hand. Joe asked him. So let's see if Joe has a response here. He says, all right, what are you sacking? I'm going to sack them all. So does Joe need Violent Outburst here? No.
No.
He can gain 4 life to go up to 18.
He can get Knot of the Bone.
That's what I mean. He can gain 4 from Spike Feeder to go to 18, and then he can Knot of the Bone. Not flashback yet, but he can Knot of the Bone for 2, 4, 6, 8, at least 8.
Alternatively, he can cast Beast Within on one of those non-basic mountains. So how that will work is that mountain, like if he did it on the Steam events, those 2 Valakut triggers would trigger. So Joe would take 6. All the rest of the mountains, there's not 5 other mountains in play, so none of those would trigger.
Well, there's 6 triggers on stack.
That's another thing he could do.
Interesting. It seems like a pretty good spot for Joe Haman, to be honest. Like, he's not going to die this turn, and Scott Hop, I think he's just out of gas here, right? He has no cards in hand, and he's just left top decking. Joe does not have his combo in place, but he's got his sideboard cards. Also, he gets to untap and he can Avalanche Riders the Valakut and really leave Scott in a bad spot, like needing a Primeval Titan.
Beast within your Steam vents?
So he's
Beast within your Steam vents. You mentioned this play a minute ago, Ben. It looks like that's exactly what he's up to here.
So that Steam vents had 5 other mountains for those Valakut triggers to trigger. So it will have 2 triggers that work.
That's right.
All 5 other mountains.
Joe's explaining how you are.
Will not have triggers because there are not 5 other mountains in play.
Mountains in play for all of these 5. You do for this one, but for all of these 5, you don't have.
So Scott here can deal 6 damage.
You can hear Joe explaining it here.
Yeah, because I've had.
And also cackling maniacally.
That's more of an Ari Lax move.
Quick Ari Lax fact, by the way. Busts out of the top 8, immediately starts playing Magic again. I can see him over at one of the side tables playing. So.
Playing against Grand Prix Providence teammate, Scott Johns.
He lives the game, no doubt about that.
Last known information, you do.
Right, so now there's a judge being consulted here just to make sure that Joe's correct, but You also explained it on the stream here. He says, and we hear Scott say, that's how it works, that's how it works. So 6 damage is what Joe's going to take here. Remember, he has that spike feeder too to help buffer his life total just in case down the line. But for now, he's looking to be in fantastic shape. It looks like he's going to get to untap here. So there's a 3/3 beast token, by the way. And are we going to see this Avalanche Riders take out Valakut right now?
That'd be huge.
Yeah, because that would set Scott at least 2 draw steps away from Primeval Titan, and that would be 2 perfect draw steps as well. Very unlikely.
He's going to swing his spike feeder, potentially into that Beast Within token. He does have Kessig Wolf Run to be able to trade off with it if he wants. But Scott's got to decide if he wants to block. Sounds like he is going to.
Oh, interesting. So it looks like Joe moved. He put all of his mana into the Kessig Wolf and got a couple of damage through and took out that pesky token. Man, if Scott draws Primeval Titan, he does not, but he does hit a mountain, which is going to do 3 damage to Joe. He's going to want to get that Valakut off the table pretty quickly here, you'd think.
Okay, well, 4 lands.
There it is.
Avalanche Rider on your Valakut.
Okay. So he did a couple extra damage in that exchange. Also, since he did the Kessig Wolf Run, he didn't get to gain the life. Is that correct? From the
I believe so.
From the spike feeder. So it is in his yard though, which is a pretty nice place for it to be if you're Joe, as he can gain a couple extra life from his Knot of the Bone, and then if he finds his combo, it'll be sitting there waiting for him as well.
Remand drawn off the top for Scott. No blue sources though.
Remand, pretty nice if Joe decides to, if Joe finds a combo piece here, but he's got bigger problems. He's facing down a 2/2 Avalanche Riders. There's going to have to be echo cost paid potentially here, but Joe might just pay it and then start dumping his mana into the
Wolf Run.
Into the Wolf Run, yeah.
That seems to be what he wants to do. He drew a Ricochet trap. It's good against the Remand in Scott's hand if he ever draws an island. Or if Joe ever draws a Violent Outburst.
Joe's got the 3 mana up for Knot of the Bone. You got to figure he's just going to fire it off at some point here, right? I mean, you just want to do it before you draw your reanimation spells and just get that life.
Yep.
There it is, Knot of the Bone. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12.
Last seen in
so he's back to 20.
Ben Sec draft deck. Knot of the Bone.
Dude, I played that in draft.
I think you're putting it out of reach.
Fulminator Mage drawn off the top for Joe.
So things are just going steadily backwards here for Scott, but doesn't Joe have him on a 2-turn clock if he wants to move in on this with his Avalanche Riders?
Yeah, that's 6 and 6, yep.
He didn't though, he just had him take 2. Kind of playing with his prey a little bit here, but
okay, well, plays Fulminator Mage, passes it back.
I see that there's an Is It charm now for Scott, so if Joe does decide to move in on the Kessig Wolf Run plan.
There's no blue source though for Scott.
Oh, correct. Well, that nullifies that plan right away.
Scott thinking about what he can do here. No blue source, he drew a Scape Shift, but only 6 lands. Scape Shift's not going to do a lot, and he's running out of mountains.
Yeah, even the deck like his, which has a ton of mountains, can run out. He's already sacrificed a bunch and had a few kills.
This might be the end of Scott's tournament.
This absolutely could be. Joe Hamon's going to flash back, Knot of the Bone, gain another 12, put him up to 32. I mean, Scott's deck has the capability to do that kind of damage. It's not that it's out of reach, it's just that he's under pressure right now.
Yeah. Spike Feeder drawn off the top. Another Knot of the Bone in Joe's hand. Okay, attack you for 4.
I guess he can just Wolf Run next turn for 1 to try to finish off Scott, as he's going to be at 5 here.
I think he's just at 9. He was at 13 previously.
Oh, is that right? Okay. There's Spike Feeder. Things are slipping away from Scott Hop here.
Yeah, after Joe used the Fulminator Mage to get rid of that Stomping Grounds.
Yeah.
Sitting on 5 lands. There's a 6/1 for Scott, but we know
potential
what his
blue
hand
source
is.
as well.
Yeah. Izzet Charm and Roman. That Izzet Charm is going to be able to take out the whatever creature Joe pumps up with Kessig Wolfrun potentially. So that'll buy him an extra turn. Scott is at 5 life. My apologies, Marshall.
No need to apologize.
And Scott thinking here what he wants to do. He just passes it back. Another Knot of the Bone. Oh, Beast Within on his own land is going to give him another creature.
That gives him two of it. The Beast Within plus either of the other guys is lethal. It also means that if he wants to put the Kessig Wolfrun into the Beast token,
He may respond to the Beast.
that means that the Izzet Charm is not going to kill it. Scott Hop right now is deciding if he wants to respond to Joe Haman's Beast Within on his own land, giving him 7 power on the board, but there's a Kessig Wolfrun as well. So even if Scott gets rid of something, he could still be just facing down lethal damage here. Ugh, this is a very tight spot. If Scott burns this Izzet Charm, he's going to have to take damage.
Yep.
Yeah, he just says, fine, you got it.
I mean, Scott's just dead here, right? If
He is.
Joe
He
attacks
is
with all
just-
3 of his
he
creatures.
is just dead here, yep. Wow, and just, there it is. Scott says, good game. Joe Haman is going to advance
to the finals here
finals.
I don't know.
of
Wow.
Grand Prix Kansas City.
Yeah, man, this Living End deck really has kind of come out of nowhere in this tournament. We just didn't see it in big numbers here. Let's take a look at the bracket here.
I can deal 20.
We see Scott Hop is defeated by Joe Haman just there. Joe Haman, the first of 2 players in the finals. Living End, we've got Robert Burney facing off against Seth Manfield on the other semifinal match. Seth is up a game last we checked.
That's right. He was able to get there with his Melirapod. He set up the infinite combo and killed Robert.
And whoever wins, either Robert Burney or Seth Manfield, is going to be a pretty exciting match in the finals.
Yeah, Splinterton versus Living End is kind of interesting. The both trying to do what they're trying to do. One of them much more interactive, but one of them difficult to interact with.
Yep.
And if it's Melirapod, then it'll be similar, I think, to
The Ari Lax match.
the Aurillax match, exactly, where like the land destruction becomes very relevant very quickly. And yeah, all right,
Well,
so let's
we're
take a
back
look.
to it. Cartel Aristocrat and likely an elemental token in
We're
play
going to assume that's an elemental, I guess.
for Seth Manfield. He's up a game, remember, against Robert Burney.
I like Grand Life. That's an interesting deck.
We'll get life totals updated for you guys in just a second here. Thoughtseize, though, cast by Seth, allows him to look at Robert's hand.
He's got
Ancient Grudge,
yeah.
Pester Might, Deceiver Exarch, Splinter Twin. You got to imagine he takes the Splinter Twin here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Seems like a pretty well-timed Thoughtseize here.
When he sat down and found out that,
As Robert Burney looks like he was about ready to win here.
You can donate to me. I'm fine.
Okay, well, Seth writing down the cards and trying to decide between what he wants to take. Splinter Twin is the pick. So Seth's going to continue with his turn, play Gavany Township. Maybe. He's taking his time here, doesn't want to make a mistake. A lot on the line, wants to be a 2-time Grand Prix champion.
All right, here's the Pester Knight before a combat.
That's going to tap down the Elemental. And is Seth going to attack in with the Cartel Aristocrat? Yes, he does.
That's interesting. We know that Robert Burney has another one of his copy targets with the Deceiver Exarch, and There is a trade being offered here.
No, he's just going to take 2, go to 13. It's pretty powerful for him if he draws like another Splinter Twin. Does not have the red mana for Kiki-Jiki here. Gavany Township finally comes down. Seth going to tap 3, cast Birthing Pod. I mean, he knows that there's that Ancient Grudge in hand, right? He just wants to get 1 use out of it.
Yeah, he's going to maintain priority here. Since it's his turn, he's the active player. He's going to get first crack at what he wants to do. And I guess he's going to cash in the Ooze token. Or the Cartel Aristocrat to get up to 3 here.
Okay.
And right now, though, Robert Burney can destroy that Birthing Pod.
Yes. That is something he might want to do here.
Kitchen Finks for Seth Manfield.
That'll gain 2 life. I mean, he's basically saying, if you have a Splinter Twin on the top of your deck, Robert, you won. You can go to a 3rd game here.
All right, there's the Grudge on the
Does he have
the
it?
1 shot.
Looks like he drew a Remand, so
Okay.
he's just going to get in with his Pastermite and pass the turn up. Passes it back to Seth. He untaps, draws his card for the turn, trying to figure out what's the best way for him here to win. Doesn't want to lose the combo, doesn't want to lose to getting beaten down by Pastermite. He knows that there's that Deceiver Exarch in Robert's hand. Deceiver Exarch and 1 card he doesn't know, we believe, is Remand.
Seth Manfield at 8 life here.
Yeah.
We're going to see that Exarch tap down the Kitchen Finks here.
Probably. That allows him to block the Ooze even if Seth decides to use the Gavany Township. It's likely that Seth's not going to attack and just going to go to his 2nd main phase. Three mana, what's it going to be? Another Birthing Pod?
Jeez, go down to 6. No green mana for Robert Burney, though. Can't flash back that Grudge, so Seth's going to get the activation he gets no matter what here, and he might even get another one next turn. Assuming he's still alive. So that one's not going to cost him any life because of Kitchen Finks, and we'll put a counter on it, though.
That'll allow him to get a 4-drop. Likely for him to get Linvala here if it's still in his deck. There we go, Linvala. That's going to shut off any combo potential for Robert and have a nice blocker for Pestermite. There must not be a Remand in Robert's hand, right? He would have cast it on that Birthing Pod, had it been. With his last mana, Seth is going to cast Deathrite Shaman. Pass the turn back to Robert. Robert draws a Splinter Twin.
Did he just draw a Splinter Twin?
Yeah. Wow. I mean, he can cast it, but
yeah,
it's not going to do anything.
1 turn too late? So brutal.
Are we going to go to a game 3 here? Or is Seth going to be able to ride out this Linvala here? Well, Loot House is going to loot 1. Draws him a sleight of hand. Robert really needs something quick here.
Yeah, he really does. He wants to find a boomerang or something to get that Linvala out of the way just temporarily.
He's got enough life to stay alive for a turn. Yeah, sleight of hand. Looks like a Serum Visions. And 1 other red card.
Doesn't have any attacks thanks to Linvala here. She has flying.
Yep. Okay, well, Robert here in a precarious spot, though with Seth only at 6 life. There's a chance that he can steal the game back. Birthing Pod's going to go ahead and sacrifice Kitchen Finks. to go find another 4 casting cost creature.
What is he going to get? A red cap? Maybe something out of the board?
Red cap. Is that going to take out the Pestermite? It
So.
will.
There it goes.
Goodbye, Mr. Fairy. Or Miss Fairy. And then Seth's going to tap 3 mana here. Cast Dismember on the Deceiver Exarch. Pretty sure that leaves Robert with no outs to get through this game.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 damage.
Put you at 5. I think that's it. Robert's not going to give up yet. He's got a Serum Visions, draws a card.
Going through the motions, there's a Slag Storm on top.
That's not going to do it. The red cap will persist, Linval will stay alive, and there's still that Gavany Township. But a sleight of hand will give Robert a little bit more hope. He sees a sleight of hand and I guess that Slag Storm. He can cast the Slag Storm, but it's not going to do it. Slag Storm here for creatures is going to kill 2 guys. Red cap's going to persist, put Robert down to 4.
It looks like Seth's going to win here.
Yeah. Let's see if Seth can make the correct attack here.
You think he'll find it?
Yeah, he found it, and Seth Manfield heads into the finals.
Wow.
To face off against Joe Haman. Wow. Grand Prix Daytona Beach champion looking to get a 2nd Grand Prix championship.
That's right. Take a look at our road to the finals here.